Penguin Random House Audio presents Ghost Business by Jen DeLuca. Read for you by Jeannie Sheneman. This book is, sadly, for all of you who read Haunted Ever After and were excited for Sophie and Theo's book to be next. Whoops. Hope you like this one anyway. 1. This guy was way overdressed for an oyster bar. Sophie squinted in his direction as she hoisted herself onto one of the bar stools at the haunt. The bar made a big L on the left-hand side of the restaurant. Sophie sat at one end, and while she pretended to study the menu she could recite like the Pledge of Allegiance, she kept stealing glances at the guy sitting at the hinge of the L. His blonde hair was rumpled, but his light blue dress shirt was immaculate, though the sleeves were rolled up to his elbows. He was most of the way through a platter of oysters on the half-shell and midway through the pint of beer next to it. While she watched, Tony approached the stranger from his place behind the bar. "All good, man?" The stranger nodded emphatically. "Incredible! You just catch these oysters today or what?" He had the kind of smile that made his eyes practically disappear, wide and sincere. Tony snorted but was obviously pleased by the attention. "Yeah, I'm totally a fisherman." His words were dismissive, but he lingered, keeping his attention on the new guy while he put away a load of beer mugs. "How's your stay so far? See any ghosts yet?" Now it was the blonde stranger's turn to snort. "Yeah, right, loads." Was that sarcasm? Sophie raised her eyebrows as Tony froze. "Really?" The stranger barked out a laugh, turning his attention back to the food in front of him. "Wouldn't that be something? Like if ghosts were actually real?" "Yeah." Tony drew out the word as he put the last of the mugs away. "That sure would be something." He tossed a glance Sophie's way as he went to return the dish rack to the kitchen, and she eyed the new guy again. She'd never seen him before, and he was obviously new around here, even though he carried himself with the ease of a local. But tourists visiting Boneyard Key were usually here for the ghosts. Most haunted small town in Florida and all that. If he wasn't here for that, what was he doing here? "How about you, Soph?" Sophie jerked her eyes away from the blonde stranger and looked instead at Tony, who stood in front of her with one eyebrow raised. "You ordering anything tonight, or do you just want to flirt with the cute guy over there?" Heat rushed into her cheeks as she shushed him. "I'm not flirting," she chastised him in a loud whisper, trying to speak softer than the satellite radio station playing yacht rock through the speakers over their heads. She'd heard their whole conversation, so surely the guy down the bar could hear them too. "Not yet, you're not." Laughter danced in his dark eyes as he nodded toward the menu. "You want your usual?" She should order something new tonight, just to spite Tony. But he knew her better than that. She'd seen him put glue in Courtney Royer's hair in the 2nd grade, and he hadn't ratted her out when she'd taken a bite out of a green crayon to see what it tasted like. So, instead, she sighed and set down the menu that she'd barely bothered to look at. "Chef salad, no tomatoes, Diet Coke." A smile played around Tony's mouth as he set her glass down, Diet Coke already poured and fizzing around its ice, onto a coaster in front of her. "Coming right up. Go, say hi to him. He's from out of town." Sophie shushed him again. She wasn't the kind of girl who stared at strangers in bars, and she sure as hell didn't flirt with them. But she couldn't help it. As soon as Tony was gone, her gaze wandered back toward the blonde stranger, who was looking right back at her. Their gazes colliding was practically tangible, and Sophie wasn't ready for it. She ducked her head immediately, wide eyes dropping down to the bar. Suddenly, very interested in the weathered wood grain in front of her, she took a long pull off her Diet Coke. The cold drink did nothing to quell the fire blazing in her cheeks. When she looked up, he was gone. No, not gone. Worse. He'd moved closer, sliding his platter of oysters down the bar with him. "Did I hear you order a salad?" Mr. Blonde Business Casual shook his head in mock censure. "A salad? When you can get oysters?" He shook a few drops of Tabasco onto one in illustration and tilted his head back to slurp it down. Sophie tried not to watch the way his throat worked when he swallowed. Slurping down an oyster shouldn't be sexy. She gave a small shake of her head. "I'm not one for oysters, sadly." And it was sad. She used to love them, especially lightly steamed and on the half-shell, the way this guy took them. But it had only taken one bad oyster, followed by an even worse night sleeping on the cold bathroom floor, for her to swear them off entirely. "Oh, you're missing out." He slurped down another one, laying the empty shell on his plate and giving a happy sigh. "Damn, Florida seafood's the best, isn't it?" Now, that Sophie could agree with. "They do it right here." She could put away a basket of fried shrimp like nobody's business. But Friday nights were tour nights, and she liked to eat light. A platter of fried shrimp would make her want to go home and crawl into bed, not lead a walking tour of Boneyard Key. "You live around here?" He took a sip from his glass of beer as he gave her his full attention. His eyes were startlingly light, but it was too dark in here to tell if they were blue or green. The pupils stood out in stark contrast, dark bullet points of attention aimed right at Sophie. "I do." Another sip of Diet Coke, wetting down her suddenly very dry mouth. "How could you tell?" She wasn't good at this, at being the center of attention. In front of a crowd answering questions about Boneyard Key and the ghosts that lived there, she could handle that, no problem. But one-on-one being asked personal questions, people didn't usually want to know much about her. He nodded toward the bar, at the menu that she'd stashed between the napkin holder and ketchup bottle. "You barely looked at the menu, and he asked if you wanted your usual." "Ah." The flames in Sophie's cheeks traveled to the back of her neck, setting up prickles there. If he'd heard that, he'd heard Tony make fun of her for staring. God, what a mess. "I'm pretty good at sussing out these kinds of things." He shot her a conspiratorial smile as he wiped his hands carefully on a napkin before extending one of them. "I'm Tristan." "Sophie." His hand was warm, his nails neatly manicured. Her heart gave a little flip at the way his smile widened, eyes crinkling at the edges. She'd put that smile on his face. Suddenly, she wanted to keep it there. "Are you here on vacation?" she asked. "Because if you are, I have to say, you're a little overdressed." Despite his sleeves being rolled up, probably to avoid any errant oyster juice on his cuffs, he looked like he was just coming from a board meeting, not settling in to watch the steel drum band's first set. His laugh was easy, not too loud and not at all self-conscious. This was a guy who laughed a lot. "You got me," he said. "I'm new to Florida. Back home, khakis are as casual as I get." He gestured down to his pants with a rueful smile. "But I see I have to seriously up my leisure game here. Any recommendations?" "Well..." Sophie
Sample complete. Ready to continue?